Hi folks, Ryan Davis once again with Carper's Guide Service for your tip of the week. Today I just want to go over a few of the essentials that you want to have whenever you get ready to go out crappie fishing this year, whether it be spring or summer or even in the fall. We'll just go over a few things that you want to be sure that you include in your boat that'll make your day a little bit better. Of course, we want to have our basic crappie rods. Typically what you'll see me doing when I go out is I'll be sure that I've got at least one slip float rigged up. I will never leave the dock unless I've got at least a few minnows with me. It's a little bit of a pain to have to stop and get them, but a few different presentations. If you've got some minnows in the boat, may put a few more fish in there, so I want to be sure I've got a slip float rig to fish some live bait with. Of course, I'm going to have the old standard jig, 16th or a 32nd pound lead head with a grub in the back to fish around stumps and brush piles. Usually crappie, I'm going to be fishing a 4.5 to 5.5 foot light, medium light action rod. Fish some braid, some monofilament, but be sure you've got your spools all the way up to the top. Make sure you've got plenty of line, makes casting easier. Nothing worse than going out there and you can't throw your baits. Speaking of line, I'm not going to leave the dock unless I've got some extra line. Too many times you see somebody go out, they make a bird's nest in their rod and reel. They have to pull the line off, cut it, retie. Once the spool's down so far on the reel, they can't cast very far. It kind of makes the day a little bit not as much fun. So be sure you've always got some extra line just in case. Next thing I want to have, I want to be sure that I've got my live bait box fully stocked. Be sure I've got some slip floats, some regular floats, some sinkers, some small hooks for fishing minnows. I've got plenty of bobber stock to fish my slip float rigs. Very important to be sure that you keep this thing stocked up at all times. You never want to get out there and find out that you're out of something. As far as my artificial baits, on my 2-inch grubs, I like a tail that has some action. Some people like to fish tubes. Tubes have their place. Fish tubes a lot too, but I like to be sure that I've got a variety of colors. I want to have some light colors, some shad type colors, chartreuse in them, and then if I get to the lake and I see that the water's a little bit muddy, I want to have some darker colors, some reds, some blacks work very well. So a wide variety of colors. I never really see that fish tend to hit one color better than another, but depending on the water clarity, I think that having a different color available to throw out there lets the fish see your bait a little bit better, and that makes it a little bit easier to get a few more strikes that you normally would. Hopefully, we're going to be catching some fish, and we want to be able to make sure they're legal. Statewide regulation on crappie is 10 inches. These stock flop measures work out really good. This one's made by Frable, 10 inches. Drop your fish in there. You don't have to sit there and try to match it down on a golden rule. These work really, really well. I've got a couple of them in the boat. Keep them there for one guy in the front, one in the back. Always really good to have. Makes the day go by a little bit easier. You don't have to manhandle each fish. Another thing I like to keep in my boat is a clicker. All right, you can pick these up at almost any Bass Pro, sporting goods store anywhere, and actually golf stores carry these. Mash the clicker one time for each fish you put in the live well, or if you want to keep account of how many total fish you catch all day, every time you take one off the hook, hit the clicker, you get to the end of the day, wow, we caught 94 fish, open the live well up, I got 24 keepers out of that. So that way you can kind of keep up with your ratio of keepers to non-keepers, or if you just want to count your keepers as you drop in the live well. But the clicker's really nice. It lets you know where you're at. Of course, most fishermen are not going to go without a pair of needle-nose pliers, but I like to keep forceps in case I'm fishing live bait. I have to get down deep in a fish's mouth. Got those. Doesn't cause as much damage to the fish. Buoy markers, very good. I want to be sure that I've got a buoy marker where I can mark some cover. If I see a stump or a brush pile on my graph, drop my buoy marker down there, and that way I can go back and GPS it, or I can just sit there and fish. But having all these tools in your boat makes for the day to go by a little bit better. Hopefully it'll put a few more fish in your boat, and you'll feel better about going fishing if you're always prepared. I'm Ryan Davis, and that's your tip of the week.